I can't wait until American women can't get blueberries for their smoothies.
I don't think people realize how much has happened in the month of January. So in this video, we will be going over all of the best meltdown moments that you guys loved for the month of January and some of my most favorite moments as well. So before we start this video, please like the video. It helps out so much and it's free and it makes sure that you guys can see the other videos. Sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Hispanic Americans supported deportations in majority. You and I debated this many times. Yep. You claimed it wasn't true. And then what they do, they went and voted for Donald Trump. The election results are clear. There is no buyer's remorse. The people who followed our laws and came here legally are more than happy to see the laws enforced.
But here's what's being...
This is a very tough pill to swallow for the left-leaning media, especially CNN, that Latino groups, minority groups, and really the United States, as far as the majority of voters, support the deportations. And Scott Jennings is simply saying, no one is surprised. We knew this was going to happen. What's the problem here?
Well, first of all, I think anybody that's out making criticism about prices of anything after 5 days of a presidency is not someone you should listen to. If that is your political argument today, you're showing just how empty you are and exactly why Democrats lost the last election. They obviously understand nothing about how the American people are processing this.
Now, if there's one thing we are all being affected by, it's the price of eggs. And Donald Trump was being criticized that the price of eggs keep going up. However, statistically speaking, prices of eggs went up 66% under the Biden administration. And I know every single time all of us went to Walmart and we were buying groceries, everything was up. All of a sudden, now people care about the prices. Why did we not care when all of this was happening under Biden?
And, you know, it happened under Barack Obama, actually. He deported millions upon millions of people, and I don't have any recollection of the U.S. economy collapsing. And no Republican, and I don't think most Americans are taking seriously the argument that the U.S. economy is underpinned by violent, criminal, illegal immigrants. I mean, if our entire economy is underpinned by people who are rapists and murderers and commit other violent acts, then you know, we got a whole other set of issues going on in the economy.
So this is pretty crazy. This is from ChatGPT, and this number is pretty consistent across the board. 3 million people were deported under Barack Obama. Again, I play you guys these clips and videos to show you the perspective on how all of a sudden it's almost like, do we have short-term memory as far as Democratic leaders or a Democratic president who's deported more people technically than Donald Trump as of today in making this video? It's pretty wild. That's a lot of people, by the way, to deport.
Cannot send a message that, well, some illegal immigration is okay. And that's been the problem of the last 4 years. Basically, Biden and Harris were like, just get here and it'll probably work out for you. That is no longer the communication strategy of the U.S. government. The strategy is, don't try us. Whether you're the president of Colombia or somebody who just walked across the border illegally, do not try us. It is not going to work out for you.
And just so you are aware, I am building a community over on X. It's T-SPLY official. I will leave a pinned comment with the link. Come over and say hi. I pretty much respond to everybody.
I mean, this is the first failed presidency since Carter. You know, Clinton got reelected, Obama got reelected. Democrats, I think, judged those things to have been successes. But, you know, Carter was a failed president. And the image and the sort of caricature of Carter has hung over the Democratic Party for a very long time. If you're Joe Biden, you must be wondering, is how I'm leaving office going to hang over my party? Not only did I not get reelected, but I also brought back Donald Trump stronger and more influential than ever.
A very common theme for the month of January is that Joe Biden was actually a great president. He will go down in history for being one of the best presidents. And then, of course, the reflection of Jimmy Carter passing away and realizing Joe Biden is the first Democratic president to not get re-elected since Jimmy Carter, which is not a good thing for the Democratic Party, but it's something to think about.
Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, or Karine Jean-Pierre ever lied?
I don't know. What are you talking about? I know where you're going with this, but that's not the point. Donald Trump stands up at the podium every day and delivers lies.
Your speech is about the truth, and one thing about Biden that has always vexed Republicans is that he spends a lot of time talking about him being the center of truth and the restoration of the soul of the nation, and yet he and his people spend a heck of a lot of time undermining that very talking point, up to and including this year with the massive cover-up of his own condition. And so the American people do.
Let me know how you feel about all of this down in the comments. In the month of January, we started to get a little more information as far as who Joe Biden really is, with all of his pardons to his family members, him saying, I actually was in good health this whole time and I would have beat Donald Trump. It does feel like we were lied to this whole time, the whole Hunter Biden stuff, getting pardoned. Let me know how you guys feel about it, because to me it was a little disgusting as an American to watch all of this unfold.
Impact of Elon Musk on the Trump orbit has been really good, and his impact on the country is really good. So I don't know how this is going to turn out. I know these kinds of announcements are important to presidents. These kinds of investments are important to new administrations. But, you know, I would listen to Elon. I mean, he's obviously got some information and some opinions about this, and I don't know how much of this is going to be aired in front of and behind the scenes. But
Elon Musk keeps on overshadowing Donald Trump. I mean, you had in the inauguration, then it was the hand gesture, quote unquote, that is the subject of great mystery and debate. Yeah.
All right, Elon Musk. The month of January really belonged to Elon because he has been dragged through the mud, being compared to the most evil man on earth, the guy who controlled Germany during World War II. He's being compared to an oligarchy. A lot of people are saying he's overshadowing Donald Trump. However, what I will say is I think the mass majority of conservatives do like Elon. They appreciate that Elon is doing everything for free. And statistically speaking, Elon has actually already saved the government a lot of money. Again, let me know how you guys feel about Elon down below.
Well, watching Donald Trump's day today, I'm just struck by the fact that we have a president again. I mean, look at this guy's day. 3 speeches, 196 executive actions, holds a 90-minute press conference narrating each one as he goes along. I mean, Joe Biden could not and would not offer the kind of transparency or vigor to the American people that we got here on day one from Trump. And tonight, Trump's going to throw on a tux and go to 3 balls. I mean, he's having an active day. I think it's going to be a massive amount of contrast here for a presidency like what we're going to see out of Trump and versus what we've had out of Biden.
I know it's hard to remember because so much has happened, but the inauguration did happen during January, and Scott Jennings is absolutely correct. We saw such a contrast as far as a president who seems to be more lively, be more in the public, do all of these press conferences, and not ask his advisors on whether or not he's allowed to answer a question. And again, if you're a Democrat, I think you would agree that we are seeing a president who is a little more active. Now, whether or not you agree with Donald Trump, that's a different story. Now, as we know in retrospect, Donald Trump is working like crazy every single day. And by the way, we are not afraid to critique Donald Trump when he does some crazy things. We talk about that in other videos. But without a doubt, this was a net positive and amazing for conservatives or Republicans or anybody who voted for Donald Trump and seeing what he did on day one.
So when I'm sorry, Bakari, your party just engaged in the biggest cover-up in modern American political history on Joe Biden. It's all coming out. We all now know that every Democrat knew it, and you and everybody else came on TV and lied about this man's condition. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Well, the Biden cover-up is the worst thing we've seen in this country in your or my lifetime.
First of all,
and political misinformation.
This is why I cover CNN on my channel. Believe it or not, CNN is probably the only news network that would ever allow for a Scott Jennings, a conservative, to hate on his own news network who was helping with all of this information and pushing the narrative that Joe Biden was A-OK because, as you just saw, Scott Jennings was hating on his co-host and called him a liar as well, who also works on CNN. Let me continue this argument.
That is hyperbolic.
And it is not.
It's not only hyperbolic, but it's actually incorrect. And yes, I mean, I wish I hadn't been around the president. I wish I would have known that he was not in the condition that he was.
Do you not have a television and eyes and ears?
First of all, I didn't see it until the debate.
But yes, on TV. He's on TV all the time.
But you also just want to sit here and say that is the biggest whatever of misinformation we've seen, the biggest cover-up, the most hyperbolic and sensationalized incident that we've had in American political history in you and our generation or lifetime. When you sat here on January 6th and did not believe that the person right there should be president of the United States or run again in his human lifetime.
It was a terrible day. It was a terrible day.
So we're going to sensationalize this because I can actually sit here honestly and say that whoever covered up his infirmity in the White House, whether or not he is going downhill fast or taking pills for whatever it is, early onset Alzheimer's, dementia, whatever Joe Biden's going through, people who knew about it and covered it up, they should be able to have their day and have their consequences and accountability.
They just had it on election day.
One thing I want to point out is that Scott Jennings brought up a fact that, look, Americans don't really seem to care about January 6th anymore, and I've even seen a lot of left-leaning commentators say we have to stop bringing up January 6th. We still don't even have all of the facts, but beyond that, the majority of Americans don't seem to care if they voted for the guy, Donald Trump, who apparently orchestrated it. So I just wanted to point out that we're probably not going to hear too much about January 6th anymore, and if you do, it'll probably be over on MSNBC.
And you said you were in shock. Well, Republicans are in awe.
What about with the pardons? What's your take on that?
Here's what I think. Were these people punished? Yes. Were they ruined financially? Yes. Did they spend time in jail? Yes. Have their lives been ruined? Absolutely. And one of you said earlier, Axe, that you think this sends a terrible signal that you can get away with things like this, as though we've never had a moment in recent American history when people were not punished for rampaging around when they shouldn't have been. It was the summer of 2020. And these people were actually punished. Those people were never even charged.
So in context, as many of us are aware, Donald Trump did pardon the January 6th people who were put in jail. Scott Jennings is simply pointing out, look, their lives are ruined forever. Just get them out of jail because the damage was done. However, you need to be careful when engaging in these debate tactics on either side because you can point at examples from the left and right where you did have some questionable pardons. I'm not saying what Donald Trump did was questionable, but nonetheless, a left-leaning personnel, whether it's on the news or your friend, they do have an argument as far as a lot of those people did illegal things. And from the Republican side, you can point to a Democrat and say, well, you have people who did illegal things as well. It's a very divisive argument, but overall speaking, it seems that most Americans don't even care either way.
About here. Well, job approval at the end of the first term. I'm just looking amongst those who lost or didn't run for re-election. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to see which is the lowest number on your screen right now. In an average of polls, my average, Joe Biden's at 38%. He's actually lower than Donald Trump was at the end of his first term. Remember, at the end of his first term, everyone was saying Donald Trump's political career is over. Joe Biden's approval rating's even lower than Trump's was by just a point. He's lower than Jimmy Carter, who was at 44% by the end of his presidency. Not even close to George H.W. Bush, who was at 56%, saw a nice rebound. But the bottom line is this. Joe Biden came in to end the Donald Trump reign in this country, right? End Donald Trump's political career. And all that's ended up happening is Joe Biden has managed to end up at a lower approval rating at the end of his first term than any president on record, Jeff.
You almost have to feel bad for Joe Biden because historically speaking, when you look at his policies at the very beginning, he actually was a lot more moderate and he has always been for border security. And then all of a sudden you had this switch. It's almost like you had someone in his ear telling him, do it, open up the border, do everything you used to be against. Even the Catholic Church was not allowing him to take the communion because they were so shocked by his policies. So again, you almost can't help but feel bad, but at the end of the day, Joe Biden has free will. He can do what he wants, and unfortunately, he failed, statistically speaking, and a lot of people ended up not liking Joe Biden, who supported him from the very beginning.
I have to say, has said today that he would like to condition aid to California.
Yes.
Condition aid to California.
Of
course,
course
you are okay with conditioning aid.
I said it the night that this started. I said on your show, there ought to be conditions on aid because
so the
obviously
next time Florida or Louisiana is dealing with
that's why I mentioned Katrina.
You want that aid to be conditional upon Washington dictating policy decisions in those states?
I want it to be conditional on knowing whether or not the state of California, in this case, is going to enact local policy decisions on forest management, on water resources management, so that it doesn't happen again.
As I make this video, there are still issues with the California wildfires. Now, Donald Trump said, look, we might need some conditions if I'm going to give you the money. Now, believe it or not, a lot of Republicans were actually not on board with this because If the roles were switched and all of a sudden you had a Democrat president, what if they started doing the conditions thing as well? Now, in retrospect, everything seems to be getting better and fixed because Donald Trump actually went face-to-face with Gavin Newsom and the mayor of LA, and it looks like they all got along, and it looks like Donald Trump is going to help them. However, this did set the tone for what Donald Trump could do if he wanted to, as far as giving help to a state, whether it's California or North Carolina, it doesn't matter.
I can't wait until American women can't get blueberries for their smoothies. I cannot wait until there is a full crackdown on all small businesses, as if that's going to be the solution to the immigration problem.